So we're we're rolling through here. We're in practice 12. So, right, isn't it 12? 10. 10. All right. So 10. So about 40% of the way through camp before the opener. Really impressed with the way the players are working. They're in good shape.
Excuse me, guys.
They're working hard. We're slowly but surely bringing things together day by day. Definitely not there yet, but getting closer. So we're our second day in full pad, so we've got an opportunity to work on some things here. Today, from pad standpoint, on our fundamentals with pads on and so forth, that we can't do in less gear. So excited about the week here that we have coming up, and the rest of it through the weekend, and then we'll start to get into classes and more regular season routine. As the players get on a little different schedule, not a training camp schedule, but their daily academic schedule, and that's where we'll be for the rest of the year. So that's kind of where we are at this point.
Questions? Yeah, Coach. How long does it take? How long do you anticipate it taking to get the kind of evaluation you need to get with the guys up front now that you're in full pads and hitting some?
That's a good question. Just have to figure it out as we go. Some things will clear up sooner than others. Others might take a while. Once we know, though, we'll make that decision. But until we know, we'll let the competition play out.
What do you know about this team that you know at the beginning of the camp?
Well, we have a lot of new players, so seeing them play is the biggest thing. We have 40 guys that weren't here in the spring, so getting a chance to watch them, go through the football stuff, not just training exercises, but actually go out there and play. That's been the biggest thing. At least we know, have an idea of what they can do and where they can fit.
On the left here.
Bill, bringing in Mike Prefer as special teams coordinator, what is it about his coaching style that you like, and what have you seen out of special teams so far in camp?
Special teams, as I said, we're at 10 practices. There's 6 special teams units, not counting the hands team and a bunch of other one-off situational type kicking plays. But, we haven't had enough practices to be very far along in any area, but we're moving along in every area. So it'll take a little while, but, Mike's got a lot of experience. I've known him for a long time. He's a very accomplished coach. Has a lot of experience, has worked with a lot of players, and I've seen us get a lot better. But, it's an area of the game that we have a long way to go in. Certainly, having 2 new kickers in here has also been part of the adjustment, but they're both, very good. I'm glad we have them. And, as well as with a new snapper, new punter. So 4 of our 6 specialists are new, and, evaluating them will be a big part of it as well. But, Mike's done a good job with them, and it's a very competitive situation, a lot more so than we had earlier in the year. So excited to see how all these guys play out.
Back left.
Bill, wanted to ask you about the linebackers specifically as a position group, and
A lot of new names. You need a program.
just your evaluation to this point of that group. It sounds like Andrew Simpson has played well in practice. Just what have been maybe your overall thoughts and some of those guys specifically, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, again, I'd say the evaluation is really for these players. All of them is, probably coming in the next 10 practices. Up to this point, there's been a lot of learning, a lot of multiple groups where guys are in there with different people, so the timing's not always exactly right. Just try to get a look at everybody. Now that everything's, other than some situations, our core stuff is in and everything, offense, defense, special teams. Now we can get more consistent work on it and a more consistent evaluation of players that are improving, players that are level off, and maybe players that are not improving at the same rate as other guys are, or so, in other words, declining, let's call it, relatively speaking. So we'll see how all that goes, but the linebackers are a new group. Some of them are familiar with some of the techniques and things that we do, some of them aren't. So we just teach to everybody, but they're definitely coming together. They're a hard-working group. They communicate well, but they have to work with a lot of teammates, not only the linebackers, but the guys in front of them and the coverage adjustments behind them. So it's a process, but we're grinding through it and definitely making progress.
Next to him on the left.
Yeah, Bill, of course, the running back room is one way, a blend of, returners, transfers, freshmen, things like that. Obviously, last year, kind of had that workhorse, Amari Hampton, ended up being a first-round pick. What will the, process of trying to maybe replicate that production as a unit? What do you kind of anticipate that looking like with this new group of guys?
Well, it's hard to imagine any one player having the production that Hampton had, but collectively, we'll see. It's a good group, very competitive group. These guys are talented, but they have different skills, and part of our challenge is figuring out how to use their skills and still fit it within the entire offense. So being in the passing game, pass protection, outside runs, inside runs, things like that are all things that we're trying to get a feel for what guys do, what they do best, and how to best utilize them. So. But it's a pretty deep group, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I definitely don't think it's all going to come from one person. I think this is going to be. We have a number of guys that are talented, and we'll just see how they, how that plays out.
Right in front there, Coach.
I know y'all have implemented yoga in the training regimen. Is that new this season, or was it in place last year? And to follow up, what?
Hold on, let me just do one at a time, because
Okay.
I can't keep it all straight. So, look, with all due respect, I'm not sure exactly what was or wasn't done here last year in all the different areas. Yoga's a recovery technique. It's not really a training technique. We use it more for recovery, and there are a lot of benefits to it. And certainly, it's a good way after a couple, 3-4 days of our practices to give the body a chance to recover, stretch, get the blood flowing, and so forth. So that's really what it's used for. I can't honestly comment too much on what happened when I wasn't here.
Well, how has that improved or sped up the recovery process for you guys?
Yeah, it's part of the recovery process. We do a lot of things for recovery, obviously food, nutrition, hydration, sleep, treatment, soft tissue massage, contrast tubs, yoga, foam rollers, stretching, those kind of things. I just rattled off probably a dozen of them or whatever. So there's a lot of things that we do. They're all part of it. Some guys use some more than others, depending on what they're trying to accomplish. So it's a comprehensive program. It's not just based on one thing. But the yoga sessions are a part of it.
Back right here.
Coach, my TV audience in Western North Carolina, you've got two guys on your roster. They're both defensive backs. Colton Bryson and Cole Conley. Can you tell me about that position group and maybe those guys in specific?
Yeah, both had good camps. They've been out here on a regular basis. Again, that's how you get better. Is you're healthy, you practice every day, you improve every day, and then you stack those days together. And they've been able to do that. So, we've still got a long way to go. Over half of camp is still remaining. So we'll see how much that improvement continues. But they've done a good job in terms of not just their physical skills, but communication, our defensive adjustments, and things like that, which we're going to, we have to do a good job of this year.
Back left, Coach.
So, Coach, you mentioned that you've got your core stuff installed at this point. One of the things that I'm curious about is there are a lot of different ways that different coaches go about installing in terms of scheduling. How to install that core stuff? You have like the air raid guys that it's a 3-day install that you repeat multiple times, that sort of thing. Can you take us through a little bit about how your schedule works, especially with, and maybe talk about the differences between college and pro and how you may have had to adjust that in terms of offensive and defensive installations and what your schedule is for installations at that point?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think it's college and pro. I think honestly it's pads or no pads. You can install a lot of the passing game with no pads on, and guys run around, and honestly there's not a lot of contact, or you can eliminate the contact part and get the timing part of the passing game and the coverages and so forth. The running game's a little different story. So today's our second day in pads, full pads. So we're going to concentrate more on the running game because this is our chance to concentrate on it. It's not just knowing what to do, but it's actually working on the fundamentals of doing it. The double team blocks, the back blocks, the kick-out blocks, the backs reading those blocks, and so forth. So today the emphasis will be more on that because it's our opportunity to do it. tomorrow, when we won't be in full pads, there'll be more emphasis on the passing game, third down passing, red area passing, 2-minute drills, things like that. So we try to, a little bit based on what we're wearing, emphasize what's, what we get the most out of. So not that we can't run routes in pads, and we need to pass protect in pads, so it's not exclusively running, but it's one-on-one pass protection and running game, and in passing days it's more, pass pattern, screens, blitz pickup, things like that coincide more with what we're able to do from a uniform standpoint. So as far as the plays go, I think when you want to try to go full speed, that's not the day that you want to put in a lot of new plays. You want to have those in so everybody knows what to do, and then you see if they can go out there and do them. And so that's kind of where we are now. Back in the day when we had pads on every day, that wasn't a consideration. You just practice. Now you kind of have to, I would say, gauge your practices based on what drills you're actually able to do. Do an inside running drill with no pads on is kind of probably just asking to get somebody banged up. So we wouldn't do much of that.
Last two on the right here.
Bill, where have you seen the most improvement these first few weeks, and how these guys have implemented the fundamentals into the competition?
I'd say the biggest improvement has just come as a team, embracing the program that we're installing, which is consistency, dependability, physical and mental toughness. Just being productive every day. Everything we do is important, and all the details are important, and so embracing that and embracing the little things and doing the little things right and so forth is it's hard. It's hard, but that's what it takes. And so gradually, I think we've done a better job of that. We're making a lot less mistakes than we made earlier. Not just because we've done them more, because I would say we care more about making sure that little things are done right. So if we can do that, that'll bode well for us in the future. If we don't, eventually those little things will, keep the big things from happening the way we want to. So we'll see how that comes out, but I think that's a big thing for us.
Last one on the right, Brian. When we talked to Mike Lombardi, he said that you wanted to build this team from the lines out. When it came to revenue share, how much did you adhere to the NFL model with that, and how much did you say we need to really build on the offensive line?
Right. Well, I think that's a little more of a long-term question. Right now we're kind of in between in the revenue, like what it's going to be next year is a little bit different than what it is now, and we're going to have a recruiting class come in that's going to affect it more than what last year's recruiting class because we didn't really have much of one. So I think the economics are going to change significantly from 25 to 26, and again, that's really something that Mike is more involved with than I am. And again, just say, generally speaking, look, we want to try to get good players. I wouldn't want to lose a good player over a few $1,000s because, say we were over our budget. Is that good a player? We'd give them a little bit of the extra money to get them and figure it out somewhere else. So it's a very fluid situation, but, to Mike's point, I definitely agree, and Mike and I are on the same page. Offensive and defensive lines are important. You got to have that. You got to have a quarterback. You got to have somebody who can rush the passer. You need somebody who can cover. You need somebody who can score. The guards don't score, right? So somebody's got to be able to score points. So, it's not just that, but if you don't have that, it makes everything else a lot harder. So, in the end, you want to build a balanced team that can win on offense, defense, and special teams. Because at some point, you're going to need plays from each of those units to win critical situations in close games. If they can come through, you're going to win, and if they can't, you're not. So it's not just that, but that's a critical part of it. So yes, there's a lot of emphasis there, like a dollar figure. No, we don't have that.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.